So, you're wondering what Barry and I are doing here and not out on a landscape shooting? Well, even Ansel Adams photographed people, and that's what we're going to be doing, and we have been doing for the past 2 weeks. I volunteered to photograph all the headshots of our parishioners in the church for a new directory that the pastor wants to have done. And you're wondering how I know anything about lighting. Well, I have actually quite an extensive background in lighting, believe it or not. I started as a sports photographer in this business and ended up becoming co-team photographer with the NHL San Jose Sharks. And I worked for, well, that was 28 years. And my partner, Rocky Widener, was excellent at lighting. And I learned a lot from him. We could light arenas, and we lit the arena in San Jose. And, but when I left the Sharks, I think it was back in 2018, I got rid of all my lighting gear. And then I started to miss it. And about 4 or 5 months ago, I repurchased it, and then I volunteered to do this. So I also worked with NBA Photos for 14 years, and let's see, Fleer trading cards, and did a lot of lighting for that. So I've always kind of enjoyed lighting, and I thought I would teach you guys how to do a basic setup and lighting in case you get asked to do something like this. You can see how I went about. We're going to show you in just a moment. Barry and I are going to set up our backdrop, and then I'm going to walk you through the type of lighting I'm going to do and how I thought about it and all that good stuff. And then at the end, stick around, because I'm going to show you some things in Lightroom, and it all has to do with reflections. So we're going to get started setting this up. So it turned out in the planning stage, we decided instead of just doing single headshots, if families wanted to stay together, we'd keep them together, so we need a big backdrop to hold them in. We've had a lot of couples come through. So that's the reason I went with this wide backdrop. And what I'm going to do now is clamp it off so it doesn't come down on us inadvertently. We're setting up the day before we're going to do the shoot. And that's where this little clamp comes in. And I will just pop it there, and that's going to stop it from unraveling and getting a lot of kinks and creases in it. So, with the backdrop up, my standard way of doing things is pretty much come about 3 feet out, and I don't know if you can see this on the video, but I have an X marked with tape. That's where our stool's going to go. So I know I'm just 3 feet off to the background. We're going to do real soft lighting, and I'm going to show you here in a moment. Well, I could actually show you now. These are going to use 2 of what we call Magmod softboxes. This is a 42-inch. This is going to be our main light. You always want to build your lighting around a main and then a fill. And my fill light is going to be what we call a strip box, or a strip softbox. And this is also made by Magmod. And the cool thing is, these just take like less than a minute to set up. They just, they have a front to them. And let's see where the zipper comes here. I'm just going to kind of zip this down to show you guys the inside. And this little ring contraption is really pretty cool. Let me back up. I'm just, if I was ready to pack it all away, I just pull up on it, and it all folds together and goes into a bag. And then conversely, when I'm ready to go, I just push down on it. This comes out of a little pocket that's tucked into the softbox. And I can just zip this around, and voila, in that quick a time, I've got myself a softbox. Back in the day, when I say back in the day, maybe as little as 10 years ago, we used to have to put each rod in individually, thread them through, then they would have to hook to this ring. And if you look on the back side of this ring, you can see the individual magnets. And that's why this company is called MagMod. It's short for magnet, modifier. So the modifier is the box. And how are we going to hook it to the stand? You have this little ring. Let me undo this. This little ring has a cold shoe on it. That's going to slip into this handle. We can lock it down in place. It opens up, and I'll show you in a moment how we put the flash in there and lock it down. And I drop it over the ring of the softbox, and I'm in place and I'm ready to go. Let me grab a flash, and I'll talk about the flashes here. Okay, I'm going to use 2 flashes today. Now the flashes I've settled on, and as I said back in 2018, when I finally retired from the San Jose Sharks, I got rid of all my lighting because I thought, you know what, I'm just going to be shooting landscapes the rest of my life. I don't really need lighting, but I found that I missed it. So these are the flashes we're going to use, and the company that builds these flashes name is Godox, G-O-D-O-X. They're very high output flashes, and the thing I love about them, you have to put this little rubber ring around them, and that, as you would think, has a magnet. So this is going to be the light for my fill light, and this is rated in watts seconds. And they keep the math real simple. This one's 100 watts seconds. My main light is going to be 200 watts seconds. And I even own another light that's 600 watts seconds. So I own 4 lights altogether, 2 100s, a 200, and that gets me for anything I'm doing indoors pretty well. And then when I go outdoors, if I want to I'm starting to do some pictures of people in nature. We'll end up doing a separate video on that. And I have a 600 watt second that can mount into this big softbox or go bare bulb or whatever effect I may be looking for. So how do we hook these guys up? Let me make sure this is getting on camera. I just open the doors, and let me back up and pull this stool over so you guys can see what I'm doing here. So hopefully you can see that on camera. So when I open it up, as I said, it's magnetized on the front, and that's what grabbed onto this box. But it's also magnetized on the back. This is magnetic, this rubber ring, and it just clicks right into place. I shut the door down, and I'm ready to go. So I'm going to put this to the side because I'm going to set up, as I said, when we're building a lighting setup, we always want to start with the main light and then build around it. So I had another way I could have went. I could have put 2 umbrellas up and done it that way. But my biggest concern with shooting this congregation is it's primarily older people. Older people wear glasses. In anything I teach, landscape or this video, I always say, what's the thing that can work against you the most? And as I got thinking about it, if 80 to 90% of the people I'm going to be photographing are wearing glasses, I got to make sure I'm not getting any reflection in those glasses. A buddy of mine the other day asked me, he says, well, why not use reflection removal in Lightroom? I tried that. It doesn't work. You would think it would. I thought it would. It was distorting the rim of the glasses. Sometimes it would eliminate it, the remove tool. But I'm going to show you a way in Lightroom at the end of the video how I finally worked around it. Teaser, it's going to involve some AI for a good thing. Okay, let me set up the main light. And the way I thought about doing this is I'm going to do a setup that's called a clamshell lighting setup. And the goal is to get the main light directly up and over the camera. So this is what's called a C-stand, and a C-stand is a lifesaver. They're not the lightest thing in the world to work with, but they're very heavy duty, and I'm going to show you the reason I decided to go with the C-stand here. I've got these 2 stairs, which I didn't, when I was handling all this or thinking about my setup, I forgot that we were going to be working around these stairs. But it's okay, we've made it work. So this has 2 brackets on it. And I'm going to raise this bar up and then make sure I'm really clamped down. I'm going to release it a little bit here, release this, and everything just ratchets into place, which as you follow along here, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So the next thing is, and Barry, this is where I'm going to need your help. So the key thing with this arm, I can adjust it in and out as I need it. But there's a little stud, let me swing this around, that goes right there. This comes with the C-stand setup. If not, you can go on B&H and for a few dollars you can buy them. It's pretty easy. So we're going to work with the main light first. And I'm going to drop that over the top of this. Loosen up the wing nut here. Come on, there you go. And then we're going to lock it down into place. The key is just take your time, make sure everything is secured. And before I go any further with that, I got to make sure before I raise it up, that I've got to add the flash in there, and then we'll get it aimed properly. So let me come around. So this is the 200 watt second Godox. This is the AD200. These are all Series 2, which is their latest, as of making this video, this is their latest gear. It's really, really good. So I'm just going to flip those doors open. Again, we have the magnetic ring around the head here. That's what's going to grab onto the inside of this ring. And there we go. You hear it click. Now I click the doors into place and it's in there. And before I raise it up, because Barry and I are actually going to do art pictures today. So what I have to do is rotate this arm. It takes a little bit of juggling. Just leave it like that for right now. To make sure you can get everything turned on. So I'm going to press the on key. It's pretty simple. Turn the dial. And it's set up. And I have all my settings saved from when we were doing this the last 2 weeks. And I'm at 1/16 of power. That's all I need out of that light to make sure I'm only going to be about 3 feet away from the subject. So now, this comes the fun part, because we have to roll this bar over to get the light aimed properly. And it's not light, that's just all, if you can push up. And as soon as I get it into position, which should be about there, I just have to make sure I am really, really clamped down. Okay, that's pretty tight. Now, I'm going to raise this arm up, this second pole, and I want to get it kind of high. And the reason I'm doing this is so we don't get the reflections of this main light into the glasses. Okay, so that's that. Now I am going to actually bring my camera tripod in next. And I want to make sure that the stool is over X. That way if it ever gets bumped during your shoot, and if I walk this off, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is my perfect, it's been a setup that I've been doing for 30 years. So I'm 3 feet off the backdrop, 5 feet off the main line, which is just perpendicular to where the camera's going. And let me see if this is aiming. This is aiming perfectly at the subject. And actually, Barry and I haven't done art pictures, so we're going to do art pictures today too. And we will do that. I'll show you how we're going to do that in a moment. And now I just have to drop in the fill light. What was happening when I first set this up, I thought this was going to be the only light I'm going to need. The big 42-inch softbox was going to be fine. And I ran some tests and I popped them up on my laptop. And because we're so high, to avoid the reflection in the glasses, it was throwing a shadow under the chin. And the shadow looked a little heavy. So that's what the second light is all about. And I don't need a lot of power. Now remember, I said this light is 100 watt-seconds, and I'm at 1/128th power. So I am going to get this mounted. And now you see, well, the box is vertical, but I'm going to show you how simple this is. You can just flip it around. So this little yellow tab here is a release of the magnets. And when I pull on it, it just pops right off. And this is a little floor stand. So now all I have to do is bring this around. Barry, if you can help me here. Just hold on to that. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is pull it back behind the front leg of the tripod, like that, because it's just a fill light. And if I was to sit down here, you can see they call this lighting setup a clamshell style. There's the big opening of the clam, here's the bottom jaw. So this light's going to feather as it comes out. If I wanted it to come straight, I would put what we call a grid on there, and I don't need that. I want it to kind of feather, and the feather is what's going to hit the shadow. I don't want it directly hitting the shadow because it would be too much. So I want the feather. If you see the light coming out like this, I want it feathery. And that's why I'm not putting a grid, and I'm not putting a grid on that one either. I'm looking to get the feathering of the light to kind of light the subjects. So that's where you get that real soft light that really molds around your subject. So the lens I'm going to use is a 24-105 Sony lens on an A1 camera. And this little unit I put up on top is our transmitter. And when I pop it, I can see both lights are going, and I've set it up to hear the beep. Very fast recycle time. So there's no cables that have to be plugged in. This is all done right from transmitter to camera. This little transmitter is like $89. It's a steal. And then every flash that Godox makes has a built-in receiver. So again, back in the days, I used to do monolights, like a 4-light setup or even something like this, and I would have to run hardwired cords into each light. A setup like this could take me easily an hour if I was doing it on my own. Because just to set up the two softboxes could take up to 10, 15 minutes a piece. And heaven forbid you broke a rod or damaged a rod trying to insert them into the into the softboxes. So I am going to come up now, and I'm going to actually flip this around into vertical. And pretty quick, Barry and I are going to take a picture. Now, Barry's going to be wearing glasses, so this setup is pretty foolproof. If anything, I have been noticing that it's been this bottom little strip light, especially in couples. If I usually sit the husband on the stool because they're usually taller than the wives, and I try to keep the head heights running fairly equal, as equal as we can. And every once in a while, this light will throw out a little too much light, and it gets up under the underneath of the glasses. But as I said, I found a way in Lightroom to take that out. And I'll show you that at the end of the video. So my settings on the camera, my sync speed, I think on this camera goes to, it's an A1, goes to 1/200th. It might go to 1/250th, but I'm just, for safety's sake, excuse me, going to run it at 1/200. If I start it to go faster, that's called, then you're getting into an area called high-speed sync. And you can do it, but the lights are going to output less, up to 2, maybe 2.5 stops less. Okay, so my settings here should be, we're just going to go what we did last week, for the last 2 weeks, 1/200th on, that's my sync speed. I am going to go to f5.6. That gives me a little depth of field if I do have a family that comes up, and or the couples, because usually the wife is just a little, maybe about 4 inches head from the husband's front plane of the husband's face to the front plane of her face. I can't get them, or the shoulders will start banging into each other. So hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm going to take, I'm taking the microphone off so it doesn't get into the shot. So Barry, when I sit down, pull your feet apart a little and then just come right in behind my shoulder and there. Yeah, don't have your fingers showing on this side. Okay, let me start the camera and we'll see what goes on here. Turn that off. Lights all flashed. That was good. Get back to the camera. So welcome to Lightroom, everyone. We're going to go through a couple of images that I actually photographed of Barry after we were done with the shoot. The good news was we didn't get any reflections in close to 100 people, probably well over 80 of them were wearing glasses. And because we took the time to get the clamshell lighting set up correctly and checked every frame we did, it was really a foolproof method of photographing people with glasses. So once I got back, I set up a big softbox and tried some different pictures of Barry. And this is one where it really is, it's not much of a reflection, but we're getting a little color tint, and we're going to see if we can possibly work with that. And then another one, you can see here, we did definitely get reflections. This was just a bare bulb flash, one of the 100-watt-second flashes, and I put a diffusion dome on top of it. And what you're seeing in both eyes is that diffusion dome. So let's start out. I'm going to come over here to the remove icon. And the logical one would be to click on remove reflections. And instead of making you sit here and watch the whole thing, I can tell you, because I've done this about 5 times, it won't touch it. It could not find those reflections. It wasn't worth doing. But that seemed the logical first step. So then the second step is I came up to the remove tool and made sure that the generative AI was on and detect objects. And I'm going to tap the right bracket key to bring this up. And I want to get here, and I want to make sure I get there. And then we're going to clean that up here in just a second. And we'll come over to the other eye. So you have a subtract, add and subtract. So I want to make sure I don't want to lose that little catch light in her eye. So now we've got them both highlighted in red. You can change that by clicking this color swatch if red doesn't work for you. And I'm going to click remove. And we're going to let the AI go through and see how it handles it. And honestly, it did a pretty good job. Look at that. It did a really good job, I think. So I would need to go no further with this, but let's come over to something a little more difficult. And I can tell you with these images here, and let me get, this one's probably the one I want to start with. Yeah, this is the actual raw file. I went through this whole protocol here in Lightroom, could get nothing out of it. So I went and thought about, well, let's maybe open this up into Photoshop 2026 and see how the generative AI is working in Photoshop. And so now we're in Photoshop. And what I'm going to do, let me bring this up a little bit so we can just kind of focus on the eyes here. I'm going to take L for lasso, and I am going to kind of circle around in this area. And then we're going to write an AI prompt and see how that does. So you come up here, if you're not seeing this generative fill up here, come up under Windows and come all the way down to contextual taskbar. And as soon as you make the lasso, you will get this generative fill. You click on it, and you're going to get a box. So I'm going to try to, and this came through practice. I didn't get hit on the exact words, but I'm going to put in remove reflections from eyeglasses. Make sure I'm spelling that right. And maintain skin color. Okay, and we're going to hit generate. And by the way, I'm going to show you, this one's doing it with Nano Banana Pro. You've got 3 different models in here you can now choose from. So if one doesn't work, you can go to the other. And I'm going to show you how to access those. I should have showed you before I clicked on this, but I will show you when we do it again. And let's see what Nano Banana. No, it really, and it only gave me one choice, so it made it worse. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to trash that. And we're going to start again. I'm going to make a rough outline of the glasses. And this time, let's put in the same prompt, remove reflection on eyeglasses and maintain skin color. But this time I'm going to come just to the right of the prompt box, and you can see it was selected on Nano Banana. I'm going to try this Flux. Let me make sure I click that. Yeah, Flux Context Pro. Okay, and let's generate and see what it can do. I can tell you, while I was running samples of this prior to recording this video, I was getting the best results out of the Flux model. And you can see right off the bat, other than this little bit of red, it did a pretty good job. And it only gave me 1. It should be giving me 3, but for some reason it only gave me 1. But let's take it off and put it on. And I'm going to trash this layer. We're going to do one more. I'm going to show you all the models in here. And this is really the thing to do, is if you're not getting the results you want off of one model, remove reflections from eyeglasses and maintain skin color. And what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to go into Firefly, and you can see here was the old Firefly 23. Now they've put in a 24 update, and we're going to generate. And I will tell you, when I was generating on these samples before, at least off the Flux and the Firefly, I was getting 3 variations, but that might be something that's just in Adobe if it can't figure out any more variations to give me. Now this one did give us 3. Not like wild about that. Yeah, it kind of doesn't look right. Let's go on to the second variation. Ew, probably worse. Yeah, it really accentuates the wrinkles. Barry wouldn't be happy. And that one just, yeah, it's not bad, but it didn't get it, like it added a reflection in here. So really, you can change the prompt up, which I did at various times, and I got different results. In fact, let me come down to Lightroom, and I'm going to show you probably the best result I got was that. Okay, I didn't work on this side, I just worked on that. Now, it did cut out a portion of the box. Okay, there you can see what the softbox looked like, the octabox, and it cut it out, but it did a pretty good job over here on the skin. So the bottom line is you have your options. You start in Lightroom. The remove reflections, at least on the images I was trying, was worthless. Then I went to the remove tool and clicked on generative AI, and that did the best in Lightroom. As you saw on the other image I did of Barry, it took them right out. And then your third option would be, if you're really struggling, come on in here to Photoshop, try the various models, try different prompts. I possibly could keep trying different prompts and get something that works even better, but that would be my advice on how to work through this. The good news is the AI is only going to get better. But here's the thing, and I'll leave you with this. When you're doing lighting and you've got reflective surfaces such as eyeglasses, be very careful to light it and check your lighting. Turn your modeling lamps on, take a few frames, go back. If you can see reflections in the eyeglasses, change your lighting. And that's all you have to do. Either raise that main light up, or it could be it could be that little fill light I was doing from the bottom. You may have to lower that or alter the angle of that. But if you do it on the front end, you save yourself a lot of work on the back end. Okay, so for all of you out there watching the United States, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. The holidays are here. It's a great time of year. To all my friends around the world, I hope you all doing well and enjoy the holidays, everybody. And stay out, stay creative. It's great for the soul. We'll see you next week.